I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. ਅਸੀਂ ਕੈਮਰਾਈਗਰ ਲੋਕ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰੰਪਰਾਗਤ ਮਾਲਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਣ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਮੌਜੂਦਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਪਿਛਲੀਆਂ ਪੁਸ਼ਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਭੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੋ ਇਸ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਰਿਵਾਇਤੀ ਮਾਲਕ ਹਨ। ਨਾ ਹੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੁੱਜੇ ਆਤਿਵਾਸੀ ਤੇ ਟੋਰਸ ਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਆਈਲੈਂਡਰ ਖਿੱਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਸਨੀਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਭੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। Sikh Youth Australia would like to welcome everyone to our official 2024 summer camp opening. Camp this year is being held at a stunning new location, and we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Collaroy Centre for making it possible. We kicked off our camp with an incredibly successful first day, filled with vibrant energy and enjoyment, and we are looking forward to maintaining this positive momentum throughout the remainder of camp. We are honoured to have Mr. Mark Buttigieg, MLC Parliamentary Secretary for Multiculturalism, Major Stephen Horwath, the Senior Salvationist Leader of the Sydney region, and Mr. Michael Shafranek, Associate Director of Community Engagement and Multicultural New South Wales, here with us today. We are very grateful that you've all taken the time to join us today at camp. We would also like to welcome our community elders who are present at camp, as well as SYA families and facilitators. We have Uncle Dea Singh Ji here with us from Melbourne, Manpreet Singh Ji. Manpreet Singh Ji from the UK, Gyani Sukhdev Singh Ji from Gurupuri, Malaysia, Harpreet Singh Khalsa Ji, Upinder Singh Ji, Manjeet Kaur Ji, and Sukhdeep Singh, also prominently known as Elfresh the Lion, who will be joining us in the upcoming days. I would now like to introduce Sardar Jaideep Singh, our very own Jaideep uncle, the Senior SYA Senior Executive and Camp Commandant. Uncle Jaideep has been the commandant at our summer camp for the last 3 years. Along with his family, he has been an integral part of the SYA team and has been attending camp for an incredible 13 years. Can we please get a jagada for that? Bole Soneha! So can I please ask Uncle Jaideep to come up on stage and share the inspiring SYA story with everyone?
Thank you Cynthia, and thank you everyone. I'm very honored to be here, so good afternoon to everyone. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Dear Sangat, beautiful families, our youth, honored guests, on behalf of Sikh Youth Australia, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you gathered today. It's a privilege to have our esteemed dignitaries here, and I would like to take this opportunity to just touch on not just Sikh Youth Australia, but before that taking a step back and talk about Sikhism as we as Sikhs, what really that is for us, what is our journey in life, and what does that mean for the broader community that we guys live in. And I was having a very enriching conversation with Honorable Mark, as well as Michael and with Steve, and we were talking about spirituality, which I think binds everyone. But as Sikh, a very simple meaning of the word Sikh, if you Google it, it comes as a learner. It's a simplified version. Yes, it's a learner, but I think a deeper sense for a Sikh is to be a seeker. And I was having that conversation that if you're a seeker, it doesn't matter which faith you belong to and what your path is, but if you are seeking the one universal truth, that one energy which keeps us all alive and keeps every living thing, the nature going, then you are a Sikh in the very true sense of that word. So for us, the premise of Sikhism is around oneness. Our holy scripture, which is our living Guru, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, starts with the digital one, not with the letter. Ek Omkar. There is only one. So for us, equality, compassion, love, and seeing everyone as equal is our main foundation, and that's what we aspire to be as true Sikhs. I want to quickly also share the 3 pillar stones which were given to us by our Guru, Guru Nanak Dev. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was roughly 550 years back. And those 3 pillar stones are Nam Japna. Nam Japna is meditating and being in remembrance of that one energy 24/7. It's not a part-time act, it's not a ritual. It's being in that love immersed. So it's a very inward spiritual journey. And that's a very important part for every Sikh's life. The second pillar stone is Kirt Karna, which is earning an honest living and through hard work and sincerity. So what's very important as Sikhs, we are encouraged to work within the different communities, within the diverse cultures. Have a family, have friends, go to work, and then within your duties, you have to have an inward journey and unite yourself with the oneness. And the third very important element is Van Chakana, which means sharing. People always look at sharing Van Chakana. We say, okay, let's give 1/10 of our earnings, right? That's certainly one aspect of it. But please let me remind everyone, Van Chakana means also your time, your presence, your skills. Yes, your money is an important part, financial contribution. But by you being here, being part of this camp, you are actually, ticking the box of Van Chakana, which actually gives rise to a concept called Seva, which is a very integral part. It's deeply rooted in the Sikh DNA. Seva means selfless service. And I'm again not doing justice by just using the word selfless service because it goes way beyond that. But just to keep it simple, Seva is a very, very important aspect of every Sikh's life and their journey. And that Seva begins from filling your own cup to your loved ones within your family, to your broader community, and also to the rest of the world. So we have a concept called Sarbat Da Pala, which means that we wish well on every human being on this planet, irrespective of where they come from. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an understanding of what Sikhism is and what we all are aspiring towards and what our journey is. Our spiritual camp, it's not just an event. Based on what I've told you, it's a sacred journey, it's a pilgrimage for us. Being here, and we're very blessed that we come together as a one big family to learn and to grow and connect with our spiritual heritage. And as mentioned earlier by Cynthia, we are very blessed with amazing facilitators who have dedicated their life in this journey. So the theme of our camp is Halimi Raj. The word Halimi really translates as Halimi Raj means benevolent rule. And that can be applied, in fact, it should be implied internally before we talk about the external environment. So Halimi Raj for us means being kind, compassionate, loving to ourselves and to the wonderful energy, the soul that we have within us, to connect with that and then to extend it, and because that manifests outside. And then we really need to go out and dedicate our life to the wellness of humanity. So that's a very valid, very relevant theme that we have for this year, especially given all the political issues, the geopolitical scenario, the social challenges that we face. There's a lot of division, hatred, there's a lot of, I guess, turmoil and turbulence in the world. So this is very valid for all of us. Now, I've given you a good, I guess, overview of what we need to do as human beings and as a Sikh community. But how do we do it? This is where SYA comes in. Sikh Youth Australia, which has been going on for more than 25 years, plays a very, very important role in this journey for all of us. So this is the 24th year we're having camp. We missed it because of COVID for a couple of years. The world came to a stop for everyone, pretty much. But as an organization, SYA has bounced back from that, as we do as Sikhs. We just stand up, get up, and get going again. And we are very blessed to be here. And thank you to Salvation, Army to extend their lovely service. We're really enjoying this facility. And one thing I must just quickly share is, if I can just get the next slide, is some of the achievements, or rather some of the things, and I could have put a few more slides, but I didn't want to just bore you with slides, and a lot of the stuff we can certainly have more conversations and in-depth, give you more in-depth detail on what our projects are. But essentially, starting from this summer camp to getting involved in the spiritual discourses with our lovely international global facilitators, to establishing youth volunteer teams. As I said, as part of Seva, volunteering is a big part of Sikhi, and it was interesting to know that Salvation Army has got 40,000 volunteers, which is amazing. And I think volunteering is a very integral part of the Australian culture and way of life. Culture care is something we started years back just to look after our senior citizens and have awareness around health and their medical assessments and their well-being. The Sikh Australian Awards, which we were talking about earlier, we had one of our senior volunteers, Sarv's ran that inaugural Sikh Award, and I believe Honourable Mark, you were present at the award as well. So there's a little fine print there for your attention. Is we had a deficit, so hopefully we can get that request. But you did pick that up. I wanted to color that in red and make it bold, but I thought it won't be as discreet then. So look, besides that, as I mentioned, annual leadership camp. That's something. So development of our youth, their development, so that they become better human beings. They become better in whatever they do, whichever profession they end up in. That's something that's been quite a success for us. We've obviously involved in other projects which are outside our community, like the Anzac Day. We have the Vaisakhi that we organized at our local Gurdwara, at our local temple. And we've also had a few, whenever there's any other institutions, leading institutions all over the world, and we have certain facilitators and certain subject matter experts who come here. So SYA basically collaborates with them and hosts events, which was done in Melbourne and Sydney through Sikri. So look, that just gives you a little bit of snapshot. So there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. And as I was mentioning earlier, one thing that we Sikhs, if you look at the material sense of the way the world operates, we don't do justice. But when you look at our DNAs, we don't go around with a flag saying that this is what we do. That's just, I guess, not part of the Sikh psyche. But having said that, as organizations, they've got to have certain mandates. And we hope that we can form a partnership and we can have a voice and we can work with other communities. And, we can benefit all of New South Wales, all of Sydney, and work with the New South Wales Multicultural Ministry. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. I really appreciate your attention. Waheguru Ka Khalsa.
I would now like to introduce Honourable Mark Buttigieg, MLC, Parliamentary Secretary for Multiculturalism, Parliamentary Secretary for Industrial Relations, and the Parliamentary Secretary for Work, Health and Safety, who's representing the Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable Chris Minns, MP. Mark, yeah, go ahead. Mark attended the inaugural Australian Sikh Awards for Excellence held last year in July 2023 at the Shangri-La Hotel. I recall Mark gave a brilliant short speech on the concept of seva and selfless service. We were all very impressed by his grasp on one of our fundamental Sikh values, and it is now my pleasure to invite Mark to say a few words and officially open the camp.
Thank you. Look, first of all, can I say what an honour it is to be with you all again. I remember attending that beautiful celebration dinner last year in recognition of the Sikh Awards. I had a very pleasant evening and it was lovely to hear beautiful speeches, see the entertainment and get immersed in the Sikh community. So I'm honoured to be here today representing the Premier, Chris Minns, to help open your camp. I also mentioned the Minister for Multiculturalism, Stephen Camper, who is also very, very invested in the contribution that faith communities in New South Wales can make to a deeper understanding of multiculturalism. And I'll have a bit more to say about that in the 5 minutes or so that I've got. I've got to be careful, I tend to speak too long, but I want to make special mention of Sanjhe and the whole team of Sikh Youth Australia who have put this together. It's very, very important that we have a manifestation of our spirituality in a practical sense, and that's what I think the camp sets out to achieve, and I'm sure we'll achieve over the next week or so. So congratulations to Sanjhe and the team. They're doing an excellent job. It's all volunteer work, and it's very, very much appreciated by Multicultural New South Wales. Of course, we've got Stephen from the Salvation Army and Michael from Multicultural New South Wales. I want to acknowledge their presence as well. I do want to recognise that we are meeting on the Gamarayil people's land. When we acknowledge the Indigenous people of Australia, it's taken on somewhat of a sort of a routine de rigueur nature, but I think it's important for us to reflect in the wake of that unsuccessful referendum why it's important. Clearly, this is not an established or agreed on proposition that we should necessarily have reconciliation in one form or the other, and we shouldn't necessarily see that as a but what we should do is acknowledge the fact that there are people there who perhaps don't understand the significance of acknowledging the Indigenous people of Australia, who were here 65,000 years before anyone set foot on this land. And given the philosophy of Sikhism, it won't be unappreciated in a room like this how important that is. So I ask that every time we hear the acknowledgement to country, people reflect on why it's necessary to talk to your neighbours, friends and family, and we still move forward towards that goal of true recognition, which is to recognise the Indigenous peoples. Look, I really, really think that the Sikh community has something special to offer Multicultural New South Wales. I was saying to someone, David, Steve and some of the others before in our conversations that I think the value add for New South Wales, if I could put it in crude term, it's not economics at all, it's about spirituality and becoming a human being. If we're going to take multiculturalism to the next level, especially in Australia, we started out with a very backward Australia policy. This is the story of the human race, right? We start off as tribes separated from each other, not really understanding each other. With the modern evolution of the modern world, we become closer, we cross-fertilise ideas, philosophy, spirituality. The White Australia policy was a view that Australia should only be settled by white Northern Europeans, largely. And then that transformed out of economic necessity, really, in the 50s, 60s to assimilation. In other words, we'll take immigrants for their economic benefit, but they have to assimilate into the dominant, at the time, Anglo-European culture. Then we had the concept in the 70s of multiculturalism, which is under Whitlam, Fraser too. Well, wait a minute, these people coming from other cultures, we should actually encourage them to maintain their culture, their language, and their spirituality because it makes us stronger. We embrace it. And I think the next level, and this is where Sikhism comes in, and is an exemplar, if you like, in that concept of Sabha, where you connect your spirituality, which means that you recognise that we're all coming from the same source. As was said before, we're all energy. We've just been manifested in this life to be able to perceive the world and the cosmos and the universe. And it's a very finite, short time. And we're connected. We need to understand that in order to connect with that spirituality, we have to live out our lives in knowing what we know internally is our will. And that will's coming from that universe. That is, to work to satisfy yourself in the knowledge that you're making a positive contribution to those around you and a better world. And really, that's what Sikhism's about, right? It's about forgetting the self, understanding that we're all one ultimately, but to realise and manifest that feeling in our practical day-to-day lives. And that's why the camp is so important. I was saying to my colleagues before, I was raised in a very typical Australian context. Even though my parents were Maltese, they immigrated in the 50s, I was raised in a Catholic environment. But to be honest with you, if I'm honest, I never really connected with the religion because we would go to church every Sunday. Catholicism was taught at the school, at the Catholic school I went to, but it was very prescriptive. Here's the Bible, here's the scriptures, this is what you do, you have communion, and then you get on with your life, and the two are separated. What you're trying to achieve at this camp here is connect the day-to-day activities of human beings, that energy, exercising, building something, participating in sport, listening to the spiritual lectures, to connect the spirituality with that day-to-day practice and doing good things for other people and helping society. So I think that's why the camp's so valuable. You're making a positive connection between what it means to be a human being that is fundamentally spiritual, but manifesting it in the practicalities of being a human being, which is living out your day-to-day life as best you can. So I think the camp is revolutionary in that sense. It makes a huge contribution. I wish I had the opportunity to participate in a camp like this when I was young. It's a very, very big opportunity for all of you, and you should be very, very enthused and grateful that it's been put together. Take advantage of it, enjoy the next week, and can I just reiterate again on behalf of Premier Minns and our Minister for Multiculturalism, Steve Camper, thank you for the honour of opening the Sikh Youth Summer Camp. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark, for your continuous efforts. I would now like to invite Major Stephen Horworth, the Senior Salvationist Leader of the Sydney region, to address the gathering.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation to be here today. I've got some notes here. I'm going to go away from them. I may regret them, regret that decision, but anyway, let's see how we go. So my name's Stephen Howarth, and I've got a role as an area officer in the Salvation Army. And what that means is I look after about 14 core churches around Sydney, all from Rouse Hill, Canterbury, Greater West, and here too on Northern Beaches. So I've got a really good relationship with Carlos, who's the manager here. So it's just so exciting to actually be here with you today and to feel the energy in the room that you all bring. Jay was talking about the energy of this space itself, and I think with the energy that you bring and the energy of this space, it's going to be a really exciting, life-transforming time for you here at Coleroy. Just a little bit about the Salvation Army, if you don't have a deep understanding of who we are. The Salvation Army was started in 1865 by a gentleman named William Booth, General William Booth, and along with his wife Catherine, they started the Salvation Army. And often people will say, so what denomination is the Salvation Army? Is it Anglican? Is it Catholic? What is it? It is a denomination of itself, and we've been in Australia working in the community here for over 140 years. And when I was listening to you, Jay, and talking about Sikhism and what it means, there's such a great connection between us about how we serve the community. So it's so wonderful to be here with you today, and I just count it as a privilege. Just want to share a little bit about the Coleroy Centre and what it is. I'm a coffee drinker. Anyone drink coffee? Yeah? Tea? Tea? I thought there'd be a lot more tea drinkers. So there's what is the value of a cup of tea? Well, the value of a cup of tea is why you're sitting in this building today. Around 1902, I think it was, a Salvation Army officer at the time went and visited a lady by the name of Elizabeth Jenkins. Her father was a convict that arrived on a ship. He was a thief, but that could have been a loaf of bread. You could get sent to Australia for anything back then, so not a major criminal. But released from prison, he started work as a shipbuilder and a farmer, and he was granted some land around this area. Now, Elizabeth Jenkins was his only daughter, and when her father died, he left all the land to Elizabeth, along with a bequeath of land from a family friend, and that related to 1,800 acres along the northern beaches area. You can imagine how much that would be worth today. So she was quite an elderly woman and quite sick, and she was visited by a Salvation Army officer, and the officer offered to just make her a cup of tea. That's all it was. And she was just taken aback by what this lady was wanting to do for her, that she actually became a member of the Salvation Army, became a soldier in the Salvation Army, and ended up donating quite a lot of land to the Salvation Army. And the Coleroy Centre is part of that land on which we are gathering today. So out of the generosity of Elizabeth Jenkins, we are here today gathering together and sharing this time. And if you look on the outside of the oval, you'll see 3 aged care centres, and one of them is actually named after Elizabeth Jenkins. And I think it's over the back of the top auditorium chapel. I think her grave, I was talking to Carlos, so she is buried on this site, and her family as well. So if you want to take the time, wander up there and say, thanks Lizzie, awesome, great to be here. One of the commissioners in the Salvation Army, when he was visiting Australia, he decided it would be a good idea to sell some of these lots of land around the area to help fund the work of the Salvation Army. So some of that went into the Eastern Territory, which is Queensland and New South Wales, and some of that money went to the Southern Territory, which is the rest of Australia. Today, the Salvation Army is called Australia One, and we've actually brought those 2 territories together. But with the bequeath of that land, it actually started the suburbs around here. So that bequeath of the land is partly responsible for the development of the suburbs around Coleroy. And there's a number of the streets that are actually named after Salvation Army officers, one of them being Hay Street. And I think it was in 1988, they wanted to redevelop the site, and it was at a cost of about $4 million. And they were hoping to raise 1.75 of that in the community to develop Coleroy into what it is today. And the building at the time was opened by General Eva Birtles, who actually was an Australian general, and there haven't been too many of them. I think 3, and she's affectionately known as General Eva, and she's tiny little thing about this big. And but even in her retiring age, in her 80s, you would find her at a place called 614 in Melbourne, where she would be out on the streets after midnight on their bus, helping with meals and just looking after people in the community. So she served right up to the very end. So thank you again for the privilege of being here and sharing with you today, and it's a real blessing, and I just pray that it's a really transforming time for all of you. Lives can be changed in such a great way in a space like this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. We should get you a cup of tea then, so we can get some land.
I was born in England, but I must confess I don't like tea.
Whatever it takes. We'll book this place for the next 20 years. If I can please request Mark to just come back on stage. We'd like to just give you a certificate of appreciation for your support. So we'd like to get you to present Mark, Steve, and the Salvation Army rather. Please, if you can come in as well, Michael. We just need to move a little bit here so they can get a nice photo. Thank you. Yes, a little branding and marketing. But hopefully this is the beginning of a long-term relationship that we can establish with the Salvation Army. So really appreciate you taking the time out here.
I would now like to invite Mr. Michael Shafranek, the Associate Director of Community Engagement and Multicultural New South Wales, to share his insights with us.
Again, thank you for the invitation, and thank you so much for having me. First, I'd like to acknowledge traditional owners on the lands we meet today. Pay my respects to the Gamarigal clans of North Sydney. Pay tribute to elders past, present and emerging, recognising that this land has never been ceded, always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And I'd like to echo the Honourable Mark's sentiment. In light of what had happened late last year in the referendum, it's important we remember why we're acknowledging lands and traditional owners. I'd also like to acknowledge our hosts, Mr. Sanjhe, and your team. Thank you so much. Mr. JD, Uncle Jay, as I just learned. Of course, our distinguished guests and one of my bosses, who I love to hear speak regularly, the Honourable Mark Buttigieg, MLC. Major Stephen, who I've just met today, it's been a pleasure. But ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed guests, when I spoke to Tawanda about what is it that you'd like me to talk about today, it was about understanding how to overcome resilience. And so today, and most importantly, I wish to address the incredible young minds in the room, the young people for whom these camps have evolved over 24 years, from original families who I met, one elder of a family who was founding family, right now to over 200 people here today with us. I too would like to reflect that this camp represents a great opportunity for you all here to come together, celebrate your heritage, mark the relevant celebrations, and a chance to always celebrate your teaching and your messaging, your messages, whilst living that practice. And I missed the term earlier, but essentially living the ideals of honesty and compassion, humility and generosity in everyday life. And that's something I think all of humanity can aspire to. I was invited here to speak to you on behalf of Multicultural New South Wales, and particularly the CEO, Mr. Joseph Laposta, who I know a lot of you do know. Unfortunately, couldn't be here with us today, but he definitely asked me to send his best regards and wish you a wonderful experience with this camp. So today I want to share a message that transcends the ordinary, a lesson that has power not only to shape your individual journey, but to shape the world and the very fabric of the world we live in. I stand before you to talk about rising above adversity with resilience and compassion. A journey that often requires courage, a spirit that refuses to be broken, and a heart that beats with empathy. Life is a journey filled with twists and turns, peaks and valleys, and it's the way we navigate these challenges that defines our character. As young individuals, you're at the forefront of change, the forefront of innovation and progress. But as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. So it's inevitable that each one of you will face adversity at some point. The road to success is always covered in potholes, as they would put it in Australia. It's never smooth. And the trials you encounter can seem insurmountable. However, I'm here to remind you, as a living exemplar of this, that adversity is not a roadblock, but a stepping stone to your own greatness. So I want to quickly share my story. This is my personal story of a time in my life where I faced my own adversity. Upon leaving university, I decided to want to make a change in the world. I wanted to make my mark. I wanted to establish who I was. As most young people do, they see the world as their own to make of it what they will. I wanted to embark on a journey to reach the sphere of the largest influence possible, make a change for good, and so set my sights on working for the United Nations. I decided to write a paper about how systems in Australia were really letting people down. I wrote a paper about how involving citizens in government decisions was working and undemocratic, outdated, and I submitted it to an international conference. Lo and behold, the UN came knocking on my door. That's it. I thought, right, I've made it. These people want to hear what I've got to say. This is it. I'm going to make my mark. Well, it probably comes to no surprise to any of the adults in the room that things didn't go exactly to plan. Very quickly, my ideas threatened the status quo. And as such, I found many decision makers uninterested in my ideas, and worse, denouncing my work. Because change is scary. Change is scary. I found a profound period of adversity. Overseas, in New York, all alone, with no one around me that I knew well, my family here in Australia, my mentors here in Australia, all of my safety, my comforts, thousands of kilometres away. I was able to face a series of setbacks that ultimately led me questioning what I was doing, questioning my own purpose, my abilities, and whether I had the strength to continue. I'd reached a crossroads where I could choose to succumb to those challenges. I could lay down, or I could overcome them and rise above them. And it was in this crucible of adversity that the first lesson unfolded for me. Resilience. Resilience, my friends, is not a quality reserved for the extraordinary few, but a flame that burns within every one of us. It is the ability to rise after every fall, to find strength in vulnerability, and to view challenges as opportunities for growth and personal development. In those dark moments, I chose to refine failure as a stepping stone and not a stumbling block. I think my mother called me stubborn for not taking no as an answer. But that's the reality of where we are. But resilience is not alone is not enough. It needs a companion. And that companion is compassion. During my struggles, I realised the power of compassion not only from others, but also from within. A very Sikh thing. But that compassion from within, I learned to be kind to myself, to acknowledge that setbacks are part of the human experience. And that imperfection are actually what makes us beautifully human. And so yet the transformative power of compassion goes beyond self. It extends outward, creating ripples of positive change. In my darkest moments, I found solace in the compassion of those around me. And those that weren't physically around me, but my family, my friends, my mentors, those people I could reach out and trust. Their kindness became a beacon that guided me out of the storm. It taught me the second lesson. That compassion is not just a virtue, it's a force capable of healing, uniting and transforming. Transforming the self and transforming others. So through resilience and compassion, I not only overcame my challenges, but emerged stronger with a new profound purpose. A nation to exceed, and indeed I did succeed. Not only to work for the UN, but to create profound change within governments around the world. And some of that work has actually led me to be here today working with Multicultural New South Wales in the role that I do. So the lessons I learned during that challenging period have become guiding principles in my life. A testament to the fact that within each one of you lies the power to rise above adversity. When faced with adversity, it's easy to become consumed by self-pity, self-worthlessness, frustration, anger. All of those things that divide us and not unite us. When faced with adversity, it is about understanding true strength lies in maintaining compassion for yourself and others. Compassion is a powerful force that can heal wounds, bridge divides, and create a more empathetic world. In times of hardship, extend kindness to those around you, but also to yourself. Remember, you're not alone, and seeking support is a sign of strength, not weakness. Moreover, compassion is a catalyst for positive change. Use your experience to develop empathy for others who are facing their own struggles. By understanding and supporting one another, we create a network of strength that is far more resilient than any individual can be alone. My story is not unique. It's the story of countless individuals throughout time, throughout history, throughout the world who have risen above their own challenges. And there's no reason why it can't be your story too. In conclusion, I would always implore you to believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams and never let others dampen your ideas. I implore you to face adversity with resilience and compassion. Let your challenges become a spark for your success. and let your compassion be the guiding light that not only brightens your own path, but also the path of those around you. Together, we can rise above any adversity. You see this throughout time, throughout history, and indeed in your own teachings. It is so. Together, we can rise above any adversity. And in doing so, we get to create a world that is stronger, more compassionate, and filled with endless possibilities. So, on behalf of my own guests, the timer for me. Clearly, I've got over time. Really, I want to congratulate Uncle Jay, everybody here who's put on the camp. I encourage you as a young person to embrace everything that you get with you and enjoy your camp. Thank you for having me.
Can we please get a jugada for that? Alright, to conclude, I would like to invite Mr. Sonpad Callis, the Director of Operations, Sikh Youth Australia, to give a word of thanks on behalf of SIA.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ I'm really honored to be here to thank, on behalf of Sikh Youth Australia, our wonderful speakers and dignitaries present today. I'd like to particularly thank Mark for sharing about the importance of faith-based communities as part of a multicultural Australia. And also the importance, something that we covered every day at camp, of connecting our day-to-day lives with our spirituality. I'd like to thank Stephen about sharing the connection between the Salvation Army and the Sikhs and how we value service and a positive impact on society. And Michael, I'd love to thank you for sharing about the celebration of... That's a workshop. Well, applying teachings in your lives for activism, for resilience, and for compassion. Incredibly important and incredibly relevant for all of us today. So thank you so much. A big round of applause, please. Now, I also have the duty of telling about the next step in our curriculum today. So if we can go to the next couple of slides. Please bear with us, dignitaries. This is what they know most people doing. So this afternoon we have a very, very exciting program courtesy of the Colorado Center. Under 14s, all under 14s, we have recreational activities. Slip and slide and abseiling. Slip and slide and abseiling for under 14s only. Today. Tomorrow, others will have a chance. Today is for the 14s. For this one, can we meet the flagpole? Now, I'm also very excited to introduce a new concept at camp. We have a male and female sessions. One is, I had a different name for it. I was calling it Chilling with Cores and Chilling with Sings. We're chilling with Cores with Auntie Manjit and Chilling with Sings with Uncle Daya Singh. This will be a fantastic session focused on issues associated with your gender and what the role of your gender is in changing society with a Sikh context. Now, these are compulsory. Listen in. These are compulsory for those aged 14 to 17. Seminar room 1 for the females and cabin room 5. You're all sleeping there, so we know where you are. Males 14 to 17. Cabin room 5, common room. And finally, we're welcoming a new facilitator, Dr. Sadra, who's an internationally renowned psychologist, and she'll be talking about what do Gurbani and modern science teach us about the drivers of personal development. How can Sikh young boys and girls use their values to navigate relationships, society, social media, anxiety, and addiction. This will be an incredibly insightful and engaging program. These are only for 1 hour. You'll still have some spare time afterwards. But 18 and above, compulsory session in seminar 2. Understood? Any issues, concerns? Boys in the back, you know going? Yeah. Yeah? Right. They're right here. Okay, good. Okay. Of course, adults, you can stay here. We'll continue in this session. Adults can grab some tea and sit back down. Okay, with that, Waiguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waiguru Ji Ki Fateh.
body culture New South Wales. I'll get in trouble. We know the crowd.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. All right.